Hi everyone, I am Erjunikopi Kanyadili and today we are going to discuss about one of the most important topic of globalization. So today we are going to discuss about migrants. So migrants encompasses both vagabonds and tourists. So when we say vagabonds, those are people who are forced to move to another country or another location. So when we say tourists, those are people who move to another location or country because they wanted to. Maybe they wanted to visit or explore that country. So there are two types of migrants, the emigrants and immigrants. So when we say emigrants, those are people who move to another location and plan to settle there for good. While when we say immigrants, those are people who transfer to another location but doesn't plan to settle there for good. So for our next discussion, we are going to talk about the illegal Mexican migrants to the US. So there are 37 million people who arrived in the US in the year 1990, which came from different countries like Mexico. Over 6 million Mexicans illegally entered and arrived in the US for the following reasons. First, they can gain money 4 times better in the US than in Mexico. Second, they can get a better job in US than in Mexico. But behind those reasons, there are also challenges that those Mexicans had faced. First, they become separated to their family. Second, they are being hunted by La Migra or the immigration authorities. And lastly, they don't have any access to banks, so whenever they had a check or being paid by a check, they cannot easily exchange it into cash unless they are a green card holder. To get to US-Mexico border, first, the Mexicans should go to Guatemala across Suchiate River and move to city of Tapachula and had 1,500-mile trip to US border and 250-mile walk along Chiapas coast and finally arrive in Arriaga where they swarm aboard to a moving trains. Some Mexican went back to their town in Mexico. They regretted their life because they become separated to their families. But once they went home and go back to their town, they will only live in a tiny apartment. So some of the Mexicans choose to live in the US and still continue their life there illegally. To get to US-Mexico border, first, the Mexicans should go to Guatemala across Suchiate River and move to city of Tapachula and had 1,500-mile trip to US border and 250-mile walk along Chiapas coast and finally arrive in Arriaga where they swarm aboard to a moving trains. But going to US was never easy for the Mexicans because some of them ripped their legs while taking a moving trains and some of them got ambushed and raped during the 250-mile walk in Arriaga. Due to the increasing of illegal migrants to the US, they also increased their control. They built a steel fence over 12 to 15 foot and set a new border patrol. They even made a proposal to make it tougher for illegal immigrants to become a US citizen. They increase fees and make the exam in history and English even tougher and difficult.
Hi, I am Farlin May V. Sabadukia, and I am assigned to report about the flows of migrants elsewhere in the world. So, after knowing what happened to the flows of migrants to and from the US, we have gathered a lot of information from it. In this time, let us also discover and know the illegal immigrants of Europe and the illegal immigrants of Asia. Maastricht Treaty is also known as the Treaty of European Union. So this treaty allowed a lot of nations to enter to EU, including less developed Eastern Europe, such as Poland, Bulgaria, and Romania. One goal of Maastricht Treaty was to move towards Europe as an increasingly borderless society. However, this movement of immigrants from less developed East to more developed West has led to major concerns to Western Europe. Great Britain opened its door for those immigrants. So when these immigrants entered Britain, they then took a lot of low-paying jobs in there, and this resulted as a threat to British workers. According to some, the influx of low-wage, like Britain, helps their country to make less expensive products, yet can be competitive in the global marketplace. So immigrants from those nations also grab some jobs that British natives refused to enter because of low wage or the nature of work. The low wage that these immigrants work for helps Britain to lessen the tendency of inflation. Also, taxes paid by immigrants workers help pay public services. So Gordon Brown in 2008 had public request that British jobs are for British workers only, while David Cameron was in favor of having low wage for the immigrants in Great Britain. Swiss People Party is the most powerful party in Switzerland. So this party widely distributed a poster with the words "to create security." This poster depicts three white sheep standing on a white flag with one sheep kicking a black sheep away. Traditional route for illegal immigrants to European countries are places like Island of Lampedusa to Italy or Spain's Canary Island, and also Turkey to Greek islands such as Lesbos, Chios, and Samos. So now let us move to the illegal immigrants in Asia. In 2005, a group that combat communism was appointed and became a strike force. This strike force looked for the illegal immigrants throughout Malaysia. This group was called as RELA. So RELA have permission to search over a person that they suspect in the street, and they are also authorized to enter the homes of their suspect. In Malaysia, immigrants are their number 2 enemy, and the first one is drugs. The issue of illegal immigration is of concern to Central Asia, such as Uzbekistan and Tajikistan. A lot of Uzbeks, Tajiks, and Kyrgyz who migrated to Russia to work either legally or semi-legally. Since Russia is a receiving country, there are problems rising because they do not know how to categorize immigrants. Problem like immigrants being sold in an open public market. Nevertheless, immigrants also gain for coming in a receiving country like Russia because they improve their conditions in their homes.
I am Patasio, assigned your topic
The
of
case against the backlash to illegal migration. From the point of view of the South, immigrants from there to the North have benefited enormously, and many have sent money back home. And those who return eventually bring with them the money saved while working in the North. And it was argued that North has more benefits from immigration, mapalegal or illegal. And the North usually gains youthful and vigorous and ambitious new workers of all times. This factor affects in hiring the immigrants. Migrants workers are generally more flexible than natives, willing to go almost anywhere and do anything, willing to take other jobs, even taking a low-paid job. Migrants worker economy from inflation. Migrants are consumers. The more they are paid, the more they are spent. By that, they contributed to the growth of the local economy. North opened their own shops and restaurants and contributed to the diversity of the host of the country, and have grown historically and continue to grow as a result of immigration, legal and illegal. The North politicians gained support by focusing national attention on illegal immigration and immigrants. At the end, they are safe to attach, and they represent a convenient scapegoat for both politicians and much of the public. Few public members support illegal immigrants, and many fear them for various reasons. Thus, they are receptive to the arguments and ambitious politicians. Some of them have a fear of illegal immigrants in the north, maybe because of influx of people from other cultures and increased people that they can contact on daily basis. People in north who are at least skilled are threatened to have a low pay because of immigration. Some of them have a fear of illegal immigrants in the north, maybe because of influx of people from other cultures and increased people that they can contact on daily basis. Jonathan Moses divided his argument into three: the economic, political, and the moral dimensions. Moses argued that immigration has a positive, not a negative effect on economy, because of foreign workers that lead to have a great global economic and in political immigration can contribute in various ways to greater democratization, less authoritarianism, nation-state complete to the better and keep best people to attract those who elsewhere. By this, it can improve nation-states the world over and enhances international exchange. There are two basic moral arguments in support of freer immigration. First, as an end in itself. Free mobility is a universal and a basic human right. Second, instrumentally. Free immigration is seen as a means to achieve greater moral ends. Moses emphasizes the moral aspect of freer immigration. Today's migration regime is terribly unjust. It distributes opportunity by fate and has the effects of condemning people to life sentences in their country of birth. As such, the current regime tends to prioritize the night of an imagined community at the expense of sometimes disparate individuals.
Good day, everyone. Today, we will be talking about remittances. So, what is remittance? A remittance is a non-commercial transfer of money by a foreign worker, a member of diaspora, community, or a citizen with familial ties abroad, for household income in their home country or homeland. The issues of remittances is increasingly as more and more immigrants, legal and illegal, make their way into developed countries in order to find a work. Or in Filipinos, we call it our overseas Filipino worker. And if they find a successful work, they end up sending money back to their country of origin for the care and support for their various family members. While they are often poorly paid into the developed countries, they are better off than in many into their origin countries. Further, they are also aware that their absence makes it harder for the family members left behind to survive. To one estimated, some 200 million migrants in the world are supporting a roughly equal number who remain at home. In 2006, World Bank estimated the remittance of foreigners as $300 billion. Because of the rapidly increasing of the money remittance, banks lack the infrastructure to handle such transfers, and the small businesses that can only handle most of these transfers. So nowadays, we are aware that we have lots of small money remittance in our country, and not just in our country, but in the world. According to the book, the most skilled and educated in developed countries, or the tourists, are the ones most likely to live and to remain in developed countries because of the greater earnings and the resulting ability to remit money to loved ones in their home countries. Transferring money to our families or into our country, this is usually seen as a boon to those who receive remittances, as well as to the economies of the societies in which they live. Recipients are better able to survive to buy the basics they need and even to afford a few luxuries such as a TV set and a cell phone. So here are some of the advantage of remittances. First is it can reduce the poverty rates. Go directly to those in need and give them experience with banks and savings. Help deal with emergencies because flows of money can be increasingly and quickly because virtually all of the money goes to satisfy important needs for food, clothes, and etc. Be a source of pride and confidence in the receiving community over the success of those able to send remittances. Be monitored better by intimates than by officials. So those are some of the few advantage of remittances. Going abroad in order to support your family and to send them or transfer money to them is sometimes also a disadvantage because you're gonna left your country of origin and there will be no left a worker because all of the workers are going abroad because of the currency of the money.
My name is Irish Garcia, and my report is about diaspora. Diaspora has a lot of term in the span of history, but it is also adopted by different groups which describe their situation and in the popular media described to be a range of movements according to Bernal 2006. It is also associated with the dispersion of Jews to many places in the world in both the years before and after the birth of Christ. So quick overview, in the 586 BC, Babylonians dispersed the Jews from Judah, and in AD 136, it was the Romans who chased Jews out of Jerusalem. These terms includes dispersion, dislocation, and deterritorialization of any population according to Bowman 2000. Diaspora involves large scale of dispersal of a religious, ethnic, racial, or national group. According to Vertovik 1999, diaspora can be seen as involving one, several, or all of the following. The first one is social form, social relationship through geography and history, created through either voluntary or forced migration, maintaining collective identity, networks of exchange between places of settlement, inability or unwillingness for assimilation in the country, political orientation, divide loyalties, collect lobbying, economic strategies, pooling of resources, provisions of services to family, kin, and co-ethnic members. The second one is type of consciousness. Emphasis on identity as fluid and not fixed. Diaspora a state of mind. Sense of identity generated through discrimination and exclusion of hosts in the country. Positive identification of heritage and or contemporary world or political forces.
Robin Collins argues that transnational bands no longer need cementing through migration, but can be created through shared imagination. Construction of fluids and multiple identities, cultures and community with fuzzy rather than fixed boundaries. The last one is called the mode of cultural production. Focuses on the worldwide flows of object, image, and meanings. Linked to rise of globalization, consider heterogeneity and diversity, consider creolization. Host cultures are adapted, translated, or mixed with others. Fluidity or constructed styles and identities. Diaspora may develop a new form, but it can also return to original or true form. New technologies play a role in diasporas that it could be argued that we have seen the emergences of virtual diasporas, according to Laguirre 2002. This technology provides new ways for people to link with one another, and for communities to maintain themselves and even create new communities, according to Spoonley 2001.